a human rights group known as Global March for Children has led a raid that led to the discovery of 14 enslaved children in India. Now, these Indian children were very young, some of them as young as 14 years old, and they were basically forced to make Christmas ornaments. By the way, some of them were 5 years old, so 5 to 14 years old. And they were forced to make ornaments and Christmas decorations for the West. So I'm obviously happy that this raid took place, and I'm happy that they got discovered, but there is a huge issue with child labor in India and other, developing industrialized countries. And British Prime Minister Gordon Brown is kind of leading an effort to put international pressure on these countries that are, trying to develop and trying to get a hustling and bustling economy, but also not do so on the backs of children, forcing them to do pretty dangerous labor. Anyway, Gordon Brown says the following: there is no parent in the world who would ever want their child to be subjected to conditions that you see in these films of children in dingy basements. He also put out, a video to raise awareness about this issue. So let's take a quick look at that.
Children are being asked to work 17, 18, 19 hours a day. They're being asked to work in insanitary conditions. They're being asked to work without sunlight. Some of them are lacerated because they're working with glass. And we found these children in this basement. They were not being paid. They had been trafficked themselves. And they were making these Christmas decorations that are being sold in our shops and on our websites in the West. And a very brave group, the Global March Against Child Labour, moved in, raided the premises, released the children. They're now free, but there are, I'm afraid, millions of children in these conditions. And in this case, Christmas, which ought to be a time of celebration for children, is simply a nightmare for children who are being exploited and used to create cheap Christmas decorations at the cost of their freedom, but also the cost of their safety.
I think when it comes to child labor issues, regulation, it's the perfect example of why regulation is necessary. The United Nations estimated that 55 million children between the ages of 5 to 14 were currently employed in India. UNICEF actually put that number at 28 million children, so depending on the source, you get a different number, but it's in the tens of millions, and it's a real issue that needs to be addressed, and that's why here in the United States, we have certain regulations that protect workers, that protect children, and sometimes regulations make sense, right?
Yeah. Obviously, it might be significantly more difficult to make regulations like that stick in a country as large and as diverse and with a much different economy as India. But I'm glad that you pointed out that 55 million number, because it's easy to see raid freeze 14 kids and think, oh, they found one sweatshop or something. But it's millions and millions and millions. Like, if you thought about that in the American context, can you imagine if we found out that 500,000 kids were being employed in that way? And obviously the fact that it's Christmas decorations specifically helps put it in a more tragic context, that they're making these decorations for kids of the same age in America to enjoy their holiday. And it really puts the distinction between the two different worlds that we live in pretty stark contrast. And I think that it's interesting that you said you're talking about how regulations are important. And I don't remember if it was Rick Santorum or Newt Gingrich, but that basically we're saying about a year ago, well, if kids wanted to work in America, why not let them work?
Yeah,
as if they have any say over it.
No.
Even in this context, sorry, just 1 second. He says in the video that they're freed, but they're freed to what? To probably end up in a similar situation in the future. Usually
those arguments fall flat, because one argument that a lot of, when I did that debate at ASU, I was debating a libertarian and a Republican, and the issue of factory, labor, sweatshops came up. And I was discussing how, regulation is important, just like in this scenario, to protect workers' rights. And when I brought up the sweatshops, they both agreed. They both said in unison, okay, well, it's better than child prostitution. And that's the standard that they have, that
arguably
low standard. Well, they're making money. It's better than child prostitution. Yeah, they're making ornaments.
It's better
and they're
than
not
feeding
getting,
them to bears.
They're not getting paid for it. But who cares? It's child labor. It's fine. It's fine. Let them do what they want. The market will figure it out.
To be fair, as I alluded to in the morning meeting, conservatives will probably see this as the latest war, the latest battle in the war on Christmas. That these libs are trying to shut down our holiday decorations industry going on around the world.
Well, obviously.
Look, it's ridiculous. And the problem with this really is that when I see this, I think about the American context because I live in America and that's where I grew up. And we thankfully were able to stamp this out quite a while ago, a number of decades ago. But the problem with the American political memory is that you can be in a party or in an ideology that gets these amazing victories for America. And maybe people will remember it for a year or a decade, but eventually they forget that it was liberals that got you regulations on child employment, got you the weekend, got you the 40-hour work week. We could go on, and we have since we're the Young Turks. But people forget about that, and you only get the credit for so long. And now conservatives can pretend that they're just as in favor of workers' rights.
No.
When some of them along the edges on the fringe or running for president for their party are thinking, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if kids worked here.